Our robo friends are looking really, really nice. I really like this app. There is one issue though. If I minimize this, okay, it's responsive, it looks good. But if I scroll down, well, I lose my search bar at the top. Would it be nice if this was at the top and I have a scroll that I can do and still search through my friends? Well, you might be thinking, well, there's probably a CSS style that I can add here, but I want to illustrate to you the fact that React and why React is so good is because you can create components that are reusable, not just card components, but functionality. Wouldn't it be cool if there was maybe something where we can add around card lists? Maybe I can create a scroll component, and this scroll component just wraps the card list. And now card list will be completely scrollable. But now I can use scroll, this component, anywhere in my app. Anytime I need scrolling, I can just wrap it around. Can we do this? Let's give it a try. I'm going to import a component that we don't have yet. That's called scroll from a file that we'll create in just a second. Let's create a new file. We'll call it scroll.js. And here we'll, again, go through the motion of React from React. Let's make this a little bit bigger. And again, I want to change this to Babel. And we'll say const scroll equals, it's going to return, what should it return? Before we talk about that, just so we don't forget, we have to export default scroll. Now here's a problem. We want to return something, but it doesn't make sense, does it? If I go to app.js, scroll, it's not a self-closing component. It wraps components. So how can we tell scroll to, hey, just render whatever is inside of you? Up to this point, we've learned about props and we've learned about state. There's one other thing in React that I want to teach you, and that is children. And children is this. Scroll can use children as a way to render its children. What do I mean by that? Well, in here, every props object has children. So if I go props.children, well, let's see what happens. I save and go back. Everything's rendered. But if I remove this and I just do an H1, I just get this. You see, props.children is exactly that. If I console.log props, let's open up the console. I see that I get an object. And even though I didn't pass any props to scroll, automatically every single component in React has this property, children. And this children, it kind of looks confusing here, but has card list, type card list. So using this props.children, we can create components that wrap other components. Up to this point, we were only able to wrap these lowercase components, which are kind of like the HTML tags. But every time we had a custom component with capital letter that we built, well, we couldn't really wrap it. And now we can using this .children. But here's the cool part. Using props.children, well, I can create a scrollable component. Let me show you how. Simply do div, close that div, and in here, again, curly brackets, props.children. And all we need now is to add styles to this div. I could create a scroll.css file and add a style so it's scrollable, but I want to show you another way, which is using style. Just like in HTML, using the style attribute, in JSX, I can add styles, but using double curly brackets. That is, this is a JavaScript expression, and within this, I'm returning an object. And this object can have CSS styles, such as a property overflow y, which is a CSS property, and this, we can say scroll, again, a CSS way to make the element scrollable. We'll say border is 1 pixel, solid, black. And then finally, we'll give it a height of 500 pixels. I'm going to make this smaller so you can see. I'm going to save. Compiling is fine. If I go back, it looks like we have a box here. Let's make it a little bit bigger just so you can see. I'm going to say 5 pixels, even though it's ugly. Oh, and I forgot a T in here. Height. All right, let's see. Look at that. We have a scrollable component. Let's make this a little bit bigger just so we can see it better. Look at that. If I make this smaller, I now have a scrollable component inside of this. Very cool. Now, this is a simple app. It allows you to search. It allows you to scroll. But it does show the power of React, doesn't it? We've created these simple functions, and the only thing that we tell it to do is, well, we tell it what state it has. The entire app is described through these two things, the robots and search field. And React takes care of the rest. As soon as search field or robots changes, React trickles down all this information as props to all these components and magically creates our view for us. That's why React is so powerful. It's a view layer. It takes care of manipulating the DOM, and all we tell it is, hey, what's the state? What are the functions that you want it to work with the state? And the rest, well, it optimizes to make sure that everything is super fast. And you can see how amazingly fast everything is here. It's a super snappy app, and these components are now reusable. I can bring search box now into another part of the website. I can add scrolling to another part of the website. This is what made React so powerful. And this is why so many websites are powered by React. Once you learn the syntax and you get used to everything, that's when React truly becomes powerful. And although we took a bit of time to create this app, once you get used to it, an app like this, you can create it in, well, less than an hour, probably 30 minutes. All right, I think we've done a great job here. Can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye-bye. I want to add one final thing that we've kind of overlooked up until this point because, well, I don't want to bog you down with too many things. If we take a look at our project, well, it's a lot of files. Even though it's a simple app, you can imagine how bigger and bigger and bigger this source file can get. And organization is a big part of working on projects. Most applications will be way bigger than the ones that we've built, and we need a good way to organize these. And folder structure is one of the most important things. So let's clean up this code. I'll show you what I would do if I was working on this application and I want to make it more extensible. That is cleaner, so when other people come on the team, they understand it, and also I can keep growing this code base. First thing I will do is I'll create a few folders. One is going to be called components. And these are the components that we've built, such as card list, search box, and scroll. The second one is going to be called containers. And containers are these smart components, the containing components that have state in them, that have lifecycle hooks, that have the class syntax. You see, these components or these containers, we can't use a pure function with them because technically they're not pure. They have state that they modify within these functions, and that's okay. It's impossible to have just pure functions because most of the time, well, we need to make requests to the outside world. But these components are special, and we're going to call them containers. They contain things, and they just pass down state to components. Now, we can just say that we're going to move app.css to now be in containers. We're also going to say app.js. We're going to move it to be in containers as well. And then the components, the simple functions, pure functions that we've created, search box, scroll, and card list, well, these can be in components. Let's just open up the folder and make this simpler. I'm going to close the tab, open up RoboFriends, and let's open up source. We'll say that scroll, search box, card, and card list, which are just pure functions, are inside of components. Now, if you remember, our font is also part of the app.css file. So we'll move that in there as well because it's defined in there. With that, let's go back to our app. And well, now we have a lot of fails because these now refer to different parts. We don't app, well, lives in a different folder than card list and search box and scroll. The way we do that is we use ... which means leave the folder or go to the folder, and then from there, go into the containers, from the containers, so where app.js is, I'm going to leave, which is ... and then once I'm at here at the folder level, I'm going to say components. And I can do the same for the rest of them as well. Save. And we also have index.js that now is referring to app that lives in containers. So again, because we're now leaving a folder, we're in the same neighborhood. Well, we can just do .containers app. Let's save. Oh, and I spelled out wrong. Good spelling by me. Everything looks fine. Let's go back to our website. There you go. Everything is scrolling nicely. Okay, so we have a nice folder structure here. Things have cleaned up. And we also have scroll.js. And I think we just have an extra copy of it. So we can might have made a copy of that. Make sure everything still works. Yeah, everything still works. We want to remove a couple of spaces here that we've done. We also notice a few errors. So not necessarily errors, but stylistic things. For example, with the filter, I say filter the robots and iterate through the robots. That doesn't really make sense, does it? It should be each item is a robot user that we get. So I save that. Still the same, no errors. I also see a bit of cleaning that can be done with using this.state a lot. We can just say, again, using the structuring, we can say const robots and search field, we're doing the structuring, equals this dot state. And now I can remove this dot state from here. I can remove this dot state from here and from all the other places that we're using this dot state in the render. If I save, everything still works, but the code is much cleaner. We also notice that within here, robots.length equals 0. There's actually an easier way of doing this. And again, it's just stylistic. This is going to equal 0. So if this is 0, that's going to evaluate in JavaScript to false. So we can just say the opposite. Remember this syntax? So if this is 0, which is going to be false, turn it into true so that if there's no robots, we're loading. Save, and that should still work. And then finally, if you see an if-else statement, well, we can do a ternary, can't we? We can say return robots. If there's robots, return this. Let's see if that still works. Oh, we don't need that extra bracket. Look at that, it still works. And you can see now that things are much cleaner. We have an app that renders all our things for us. And to finish off, remember package.json, how we had some pre-built scripts? And we had this build command. If I stop this now and I do npm build or npm run build, check this out. While this is building, they've created a new folder called build. And within here, we have all our files, but this time optimized. What does that mean? Well, if we go to static and go to JS, look at that. Everything is minified for us. Our CSS is optimized. And everything that we need to deploy the website is in this folder. So we can now take this build folder and put it anywhere. So it's on the internet. And it even gives you some good information. So now we have this optimized build. We don't have to minify it. We don't have to do all these optimization. It goes through Babel so that we can use import statements in the browsers. And now this build folder can now be deployed anywhere. Like I said, Create React App takes away all the pain of the setup. Everything is done for you. You can just write code, use React components from around the web to build beautiful websites. I hope you're excited about React as I am. This is why it's such a popular tool, and this is why so many companies now are using it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.